Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing amazing today. In this video, we're diving into the latest updates about Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. You don't want to miss this. So make sure to stay tuned till the end, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Kelly Ripa had always believed she understood the rhythm of crisis. Life, she often said on Live, had a habit of throwing curveballs at the precise moment you felt most stable. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared her for the moment her world cracked open like thin ice giving way beneath her feet. It began on a quiet Tuesday morning in early autumn, the kind of New York morning that smelled faintly of roasted chestnuts, with a breeze that made the city feel almost gentle. Kelly and Mark were rushing through their usual pre-show routine. She made notes for the opening segment, he scrolled through messages from their kids, and both juggled coffee cups like two seasoned acrobats balancing porcelain. Nothing felt unusual until Mark paused mid-sentence. "Kel," he said, gripping the edge of the kitchen counter, "I'm dizzy, again." She turned sharply. It wasn't the first time he'd said it, but this time there was something different in his voice, an edge that sent a cold ribbon of fear sliding down her spine. "How bad?" she asked, forcing her tone to stay steady. He closed his eyes. "Bad enough." Within minutes they were in the car, her hand wrapped around his like a lifeline. She tried to calm her breathing as they navigated traffic toward the specialist they had been meaning to follow up with. They should have gone weeks ago, she knew that now. Mark kept insisting it was unnecessary, just stress, just exhaustion, just 100 normal explanations, but Kelly had lived with him too long not to see the small changes, the pauses, the headaches, the moments when his smile flickered, just for a split second. And now, everything inside her screamed that it was time. The waiting room felt colder than usual. Medical rooms always did. Kelly sat upright, her fingers tapping her knee rhythmically, though inside she was unraveling stitch by stitch. When the doctor finally called them back, the air felt thick enough to swallow. "Mark Kelly," the doctor said softly, folding his hands on the desk as if trying to cushion what he was about to say. "We received the results from last week's scan." Kelly's heart slammed. She hadn't realized she was holding her breath until her chest ached from it. The room went impossibly still. The world outside felt like it faded to a distant hum. And then the words came, measured, careful, too calm for the devastation they carried. "I'm afraid the tests indicate a neurological disorder. We need to run more exams to determine the type and severity, but this is something we have to take seriously right away." Kelly felt the floor rush upward, as if gravity tilted sideways. She reached for Mark's hand, clinging to it like a rope in a storm. "A disorder," she whispered, her throat tightening painfully. "What does that even mean? Is it dangerous?" "It can be," the doctor admitted, "but we won't know the full picture until further testing." Kelly felt tears sting, burning behind her eyes, threatening to spill. Mark didn't speak. His jaw tightened, his shoulders squared, and suddenly she saw something she had never witnessed in him before. Not fear, but resignation. As though he had suspected this all along and hoped it would simply disappear if he ignored it. She squeezed his hand harder. "We'll deal with it," she said. "Whatever it is, we'll face it. Together." Her voice broke on the last word. The doctor continued talking, explaining symptoms, next steps, possible outcomes, but Kelly heard only fragments, scattered pieces of a nightmare she couldn't quite piece together. Her mind kept looping the same thought. "Mark is sick, Mark needs me, and I don't know how to fix this." The silence on the drive home was suffocating. Mark stared out the window as the city blurred past. Kelly glanced toward him again and again, desperate for something, anger, fear, a joke, a sign he was still himself, but he remained unreadable, locked inside thoughts she couldn't reach. When they finally pulled into the driveway, he exhaled and said the words she dreaded. "Maybe we shouldn't tell the kids yet." Kelly whipped toward him. "Mark, they deserve to know." "Not until we're sure," he insisted quietly. "I don't want to scare them with something that might change." She understood his intention, she even admired it. But the weight of carrying this alone felt unbearable. Inside their home, Mark went upstairs to rest. Kelly stood in the kitchen, gripping the counter the way he had earlier, fighting the rising tide of panic. Then her phone buzzed, a reminder for rehearsal. Another for a promotional shoot. Another about a guest change on the show tomorrow. Her world kept moving, demanding her presence, her jokes, her bright smile. But inside she felt hollow. A tear slipped silently down her cheek. And then another. She pressed both hands to her face, and the sob that tore from her chest startled even her. It was raw, trembling, almost childlike, a cry she hadn't allowed herself since she was young. She slid down the cabinet until she was sitting on the floor, arms wrapped around her knees. "I can't lose him," she whispered. "Please, I can't lose him." In that moment, she felt utterly human, not a host, not a celebrity, not a public figure, just a wife terrified of a future she couldn't control. Over the next week, Kelly operated on autopilot. On camera, she smiled, laughed, carried conversations with the ease of someone who had done it for decades. But viewers noticed something. Her eyes glistened too often. Her voice wavered when Mark wasn't sitting beside her. Her jokes lacked their usual rhythm. Backstage, she felt herself fracturing. During commercial breaks, she gripped her coffee cup with trembling hands. Producers whispered among themselves, unsure whether to ask or leave her alone. Her makeup artist dabbed the corners of her eyes more times than necessary. But the real breaking point didn't come on set. It came in their bedroom, one night when Mark was finally asleep. Kelly stood at the foot of the bed, watching the rise and fall of his breathing. He looked peaceful, too peaceful for someone carrying the weight of an uncertain diagnosis on his shoulders. She stepped closer, brushing his hair gently. His hand twitched toward hers, even unconscious, and that tiny gesture shattered her composure completely. She sank onto the edge of the bed, burying her face in her hands. What if, she choked, unable to finish the sentence. What if the tests revealed something irreversible? What if his strength faded? What if their future didn't look the way they had imagined? What if she had to face the world without him? She tried to muffle her sobs, but one escaped, sharp and painful. Mark stirred slightly, though he didn't wake. That made it worse. Her tears came harder, shoulders shaking, breath hitching in jagged bursts. She felt every fear she'd buried erupt all at once, as though her heart had reached its breaking point and could no longer contain the storm. She clutched his hand. "Don't leave me," she whispered through tears. "I need you, we all need you." The confession burned, but it was true. For 28 years, he had been her anchor, her partner, her rhythm. The thought of navigating life without his steady presence felt impossible. She wasn't ready, not for this, not for uncertainty, not for the fragility of someone she loved more than anything. And so the emotional breakdown she had been suppressing for days finally consumed her. She cried until her eyes ached, until her breathing slowed, until exhaustion finally pulled her down beside him. Mark shifted in his sleep, instinctively wrapping an arm around her. Even unconscious, he reached for her. It was enough to calm her trembling heart, if only for a moment. The next morning, Kelly woke before him. Sunlight filtered through the curtains. The world looked softer, quiet, suspended. Mark opened his eyes slowly, immediately noticing her puffy ones. "Kel," he whispered, brushing her cheek, "you've been crying." She nodded. No excuses. No pretending. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I don't know how to be strong for this." He cupped her face gently. "We'll get through it, but you don't have to be strong all the time. Not with me." Something in her chest loosened. For the first time since the diagnosis, she felt a breath that didn't hurt. Whatever the future held, tests, treatments, difficult days, they would face it the same way they had faced everything, together. Mark kissed her forehead. "You're not losing me," he murmured. "I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere." Kelly clung to those words like a promise carved into stone. For now, that was enough. And for the first time in days, she let herself believe it.